grade middle school teachers getting to do it all together.
And how about Erica? Or do we... Erica, can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay, did you introduce yourself yet?
Yep, I think I did.
Oh.
I heard you.
Okay. Then I'd see, do we have David? Is David with us? And Brian? One of you want to go?
Brian, you want to go?
Sure. I'm Brian Durst. I teach high school English and communication arts in Wisconsin, and I've got a couple of senior level writing classes, one of which I teach completely paperless, which has been a really exciting adventure over the last couple of years.
Very cool. David, hit it. Where are you and what do you do?
I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm a principal at an elementary school, K-5, and we just started Lucy Calkins Writers Workshop, so just kind of interested in this topic.
Okay. So I'm gonna throw it out to Brian really quick. If you say you're doing a class paperless, can you kind of give us some insight into that and how it's going?
Well, the class is called Foundations of College Writing, and it's directed at seniors who are looking to move on to college but need just a little extra emphasis on some of the skill work in their writing and just a slower pace, more focus on specifics where you can sit down with them one-on-one. All of our communication arts classes that are writing focused are in our department writing lab, so we have computers available. We're not a one-to-one school quite yet, so we've got access to our computer lab, which makes it really easy, and that there's convenience in that. So I just decided a couple years ago to start experimenting with that, and we work with all of the Google apps, so all of the using Google Docs and spreadsheets and forms, and we're able to figure out a way to communicate and deliver feedback, and it's immediate. And the biggest purpose for me starting that was just to really work on getting greater voice from my students in their writing, and that was a real focus of all of the teachers in the department. We've been talking about that for quite a few years, and obviously that's a challenge to bring out the greatest voice that you can in your student writing. So it's worked out really well.
Very cool. I struggle, I suggested this topic because I'm struggling with, I do more of a writer's workshop model, and what do I make paperless and what don't I? I try really hard that when I use technology in my room, that I'm not just using it because it's fun and I want it to be purposeful and meaningful and enhance the learning experience. So sometimes I find that paper and pencil is better. In fact, currently I don't let my students draft digitally yet because I want to see their process. I want to see that messy paper. So I'm kind of grappling with that issue of going completely paperless because I haven't quite found if I can get the same things I want digitally. So I'm only, 5 months into this, so I was just curious to see what people think.
I feel kind of, I don't have a one-to-one computer ratio with my kids, but I do feel like I think there's value to both. I worry about ever going completely paperless, only because I feel like myself, I function really well on paper, and there are things you can explore in a writer's notebook. I think that would be challenging to translate to a computer. But on the other hand, I do a lot of drafting on a computer when I'm drafting communications or emails, or real life communications are often drafted on a computer by myself as well. So not that I guess I do feel like there needs to be a balance, so you can bring out the best in both ways. I don't know that makes the biggest impact on student writing. I'm curious about what Brian said about voice, though, and technology. That was interesting. Like, how did it bring out a better voice?
It seems like, well, obviously with an authentic audience available and having me or having other classmates with shared documents, Having that immediate feedback and writing has given the students a more specific purpose, and they know that it's going to an audience, and they need to understand that it's not just another writing assignment in an English class that they're going to have to do. And it really takes them out of that mindset that it's just to pass the next assignment, to pass the class, to move on and get that credit. So that's been a big advancement as far as that goes. I still do plenty of pen and paper writing, and the technology's down for the day. We have our writers' notebooks available, so that doesn't go away. And there is some planning. Some of our pre-writing that we do is at sitting at our tables, and we're able to do it old school. But when we start going through the process, we've been working paperless, and it really helps through that formative process early on. So it's not all about a teacher collecting a stack of 30 papers at the end of the writing of something, reading through it, taking a red pen to it, handing it back with comments all over it, and the students have really responded positively to that.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear more from everybody about feedback that you've provided as well. Whether it's, is it feedback like effectively writing on their paper in a digital format? Is it audio feedback? Is it like recording yourself with a video of their paper in front of? What kinds of new types of feedback are people using?
Since we've been a GAF district for 2 years now, I've been using comments in their Google Docs.
Okay.
Partly because you own the comment, so the kids can't delete them. They can mark them resolved, so it's a really nice way to see every comment you've ever made, and as they go back to their papers, they can refresh their memories on what the comments were. I've been dabbling in voice comments with Kaizena. It's a Google app that you can open a Google Doc with, which is really cool.
Can you spell that in the commentary at some point or the chat? Because that sounds cool. I've been doing some audio too.
I'll repost it. I posted it on Twitter.
Okay.
But cool. I can repost that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I found when I used audio, like I said, I still straddle the two worlds, I guess. But I've been using audio feedback just on my iPhone with a voice recorder, and then I'm able to send them an email. I often will have a paper copy in front of me, and then instead of writing the comments, be giving the audio feedback. Maybe a little mark here and there to show them where to look. But I found that kids, by and large, do give really positive feedback to that kind of feedback. I'm able to convey a lot more, and some of them report listening to it more than once, which is nice too. In a survey, it's always been like 70–80% prefer it to writing in a margin. So that was really helpful for me to see the difference.
I'm retweeting my post for Kaizena with a link to the Google, the Chrome store.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the app Kaizena after our last session. I'm just trying to figure out with my fourth graders how I could share that voice comments with them. As of right now, like, I don't have any email for my students. I've got them on KidBlog, and I'm trying to think of how I can integrate that to give them different format of feedback, because I know when I give them feedback on the written work, probably about 30% of them read everything I write. So it is like beating my head up against the wall, like I told you to change that, or they're not getting the feedback. And I think if I could put it in a different format, I'd get more of a response.
The technology coordinator for our school district has been trying to get me to do like a screen, I think it's called screencast or something. It's something where you are able to pull up the document and actually record yourself while you're scrolling down the document, and that might work for younger kids even better than just audio, because they wouldn't have to make that connection. I guess what you're concerned about is how would you get it to them? Like, how would you get them to look at it? And then again, I'm thinking out loud, well, how is that any different than just having a conference, right? If you're going to do that, you may as well have a conference, right? Face to face.
because I can give them all that feedback at home, where I
That's
spend
true.
most of my time grading my papers, and I can record myself.
Yeah. Has anyone used video like that before? I've been hesitant to try it just for lack of time to really explore it and feel like it will take me longer. But
I think with the younger kids, that
crickets.
conferencing is the most efficient way.
Okay. I mean, there's a difference in the number of students, of course, I guess. But I also feel like sometimes my head is a little clearer when I'm not in the middle of the classroom. I mean, I do my best to get conference time in there, but that's always been a challenge, and I feel like recording it a little bit is helpful. But anyway, I'm just curious to see if anyone has tried the video feedback. I can't hear anybody.
I haven't tried any of that yet.
Oh, there you go.
I'm actually going in the realm of trying to really establish that culture with my kids of wanting to work on their writing, and I've been dabbling in not grading stuff and just being part of the process. So I'm actually wanting to work on having my kids start to give feedback and have it not come from me, and create this culture of writers that I'm not the lead writer. Because honestly, I think sometimes the kids do much better work than I do.
Yeah, that's hard to do. I feel like that's an ongoing challenge for me in running a writer's workshop.
I've been doing that like once a week, letting them peer conference with each other. There was something I saw done at a Kagan workshop for writing over the summer, and tried to integrate that more. I find that more useful because they know they have to improve on their writing because they're going to show it off to one of their friends, and they're getting feedback from somebody that's not me, because I just think they start to tune me out after a while. I'm sorry, my kid is like nonstop singing in the background, which is why I can't voice record at home, because she's got
I know, I do the same thing with my kids. It's nap time on the East Coast, so that explains it.
I think that was an important point. Just the fact that students need to understand that they're not just writing for the teacher, and when more of their peers can get involved, and I know that's always a question, how much peer revision should go into something, but it's fun when students can move around and they can get to either different workstations, or they can share documents with each other. And one of the things that I noticed the most was when a document is shared with me, I can monitor what the peer editors are, the feedback that the peers are giving each other, and that's one area where I'm able to formatively assess where some of the students are at, not just in their writing, but being able to recognize good writing. So that's been important.
And that's what we have some teachers that use Edmodo for the same thing, that a student will post work and students will comment and give feedback on that. And the purpose is more of improving your writing, which it should be, than putting in a grade in the grade book, So, I think any type of blogging is pretty awesome in the fact that, I as a student can publish my work right away, right? So, I mean, back in the day, you couldn't do that. How long does it take to actually publish work? So I think students then realize, all right, well, who am I writing for? Who is my audience when I'm writing? So using Lucy Calkins' writing workshop plus Edmodo and some of the online blogs and things like that has made a difference with the students in our school.
Just so you know, I just double-checked. We have until 11 o'clock for session 2, so we have some time here. So just in case anybody else wanted to know.
I have a question about writing workshop in general, but what problems and challenges do you run into with a writing workshop model, and how do you overcome them?
In a middle school setting, my problem is time. And it's about, the way I overcome that is I figure I'm a professional, so I make very professional decisions, and it may not be that I get through every stinking standard, that I really choose, I always talk about the big bang for the buck. What is going to be the biggest bang for my students' buck in the real world? And so I will focus on that. So I really focus on the writing process and the critical thinking. If we don't figure out the theme for every novel we read, if we don't write about everything we read, I really make those decisions because I really think that communication is key.
And for me, it's a balance, I think it's a balance between having them write a lot and having them publish.
Yeah.
That's true, because that adds time to the. I mean, I guess blogging is, you pointed out, David, is a more immediate way of publishing. But you're right. It takes a lot of time to publish and a lot of time to process too. So.
Well, and you don't have to publish everything, you know. I mean, and how many real writers start something and they don't end it. So and they'll return to it. So. You know, for our teachers at our school, it's more about grading. They're like, well, where does this fit in with standards? And I'm like, well, maybe it doesn't. You know, I mean, maybe you're just teaching it to make to help students become better writers. So.
Anyone else have any issues or questions they want to ask?
Do any of you use a portfolio system at the end of a mark period or the end of a school year?
We do. We have a quarterly one.
Is it, Erica, is it student, do the students choose the work, or is there certain articles that go into that portfolio? How do your portfolios work?
It's a combination of both. There's some student choice and some teacher choice.
We don't use a portfolio. I do have them keep some of their major writing pieces in the classroom, and they get them back at the end of the year to sort of do a bit of reflection on how the growth has happened. So that's all very informal. Again, it's not a grade, but I do use some grading for the writer's notebook, and I stumble over even saying that because some people will hate to hear that. But I think to some degree, kids are addicted to grades, and I don't want to be part of that problem. But on the other hand, I think it does show that I'm valuing and I'm giving some credit for the work that goes into Writer's Notebook, because Writer's Notebook is not an easy thing to do. Even though it's not all published, I am asking them to stretch every day, and I think it's important to give some kind of credit for that. That said, it's what I would call an easier grade, in that, like, are you doing what you're expected to do with it? If you are, then you're getting the grade. So it's not, I don't know. I wrestle with that because some people are like adamantly against grading writers' notebooks, but I do look at that as a type of portfolio because it's a collection of their explorations and the things that they're doing throughout the class periods all semester.
I have portfolios also. I have students. Right now, they're paper portfolios. I'll look next year about digital portfolios, give myself some breathing room. But we put all of our writing in there, and then I have them at the end of each, I would say 3 or 4 weeks or so. We go back in our portfolios, and they reflect. They pick out something that was really challenging, and they talk about why. And I have these little slips of paper that they attach to each choice they make, or they talk about. Yeah, can you hear my little one in the background? She's excited about Peppa Pig. Or they pick a selection that they're the most proud of. I also do a bulletin board in my room sometimes where it is student choice of what they put up, and they have to justify why they're putting it up on the board for the world to see. So I do those things also.
I like that idea.
Yes, and we're excited about Wally Kazam that's coming to Nickelodeon in February.
Ooh. Burn them up.
Anything else? Brett, it was nice to hear you talk about a writer's notebook in 9th grade. I don't know how many teachers use a writing workshop model, I have found it, I came up to middle school through elementary, so I have found it hard using a writer's workshop in about 40-minute periods. So it's always challenging, but it's nice to hear that you're doing that in 9th grade. I think it's it's valuable for teaching them the process.
Mm-hmm. We moved to 56-minute periods recently, which is helpful with that. With more of that. I also found it's my first year in 9th grade, and I find it's funny. It's even with the longer period of class, it's starting a new grade has made it harder to find, harder to navigate like how you allot time, I guess. And the writer's notebook I feel like was a stronger piece when I had a lot of experience in the grade level. So I feel like as time goes on, you know, I don't know how long you've been at 7th or 8th grade, but I feel optimistic because I've seen how my writer's notebook habits improved and increased over time in 8th grade, and so I feel like the same will happen in 9th grade over time. I'm just still getting my bearings.
Hey, I just found a question on Twitter from Jen Klosko, wondering if any of us use a writer's notebook as the drafting place for writing.
I do sometimes.
I do sometimes. It depends on the length of the writing. Sometimes I have my kids just draft pieces of the writing, and then we go to our Chromebooks sometimes to draft it, or paper drafting. Anyone else? We have about 4 minutes left.
Because we're not one-to-one, we do most of our drafting inside notebooks.
This is why I struggle with the paper, pencil, and the digital, the tech side, because I like the idea of the kids being able to fan back through their books and being able to see things, and I just don't think that it's that as easy on a computer, but we are dealing with different kids, and that's where I struggle. I struggle with what I'm comfortable with versus what my kids are comfortable with. And I've actually started having a lot of conversations with my kids about what they prefer. And I'm surprised with my class this year, they actually prefer paper right now versus our Chromebooks, but I think it's because they're not used to using a Chromebook so often in a classroom, and I think that'll change as I get new classes, and as more teachers, elementary teachers in my district are using Chromebooks, and things are becoming more digital. So I'm anxious to see how that changes over the years.
I think it's all access, like you said. Like our 2nd graders have tiny idea notebooks, which are little notebooks that you get at the dollar store. That's where they have an idea out on the playground that they might want to make that into a smaller idea that they want to write about. Then they could do that, right? So unless if they have an iPad with them or something like that, which they don't have the ability to do that. So I think as access increases and, some eventually, and depending on some districts, I guess you could put it in your phone, using an app, So I don't know. I go back and forth with it too. Just because you could do it digitally, does it make it better? And the answer is sometimes, I think, but sometimes not.
Well, and I think that's why we need to keep having these conversations. I think we constantly need to hash this out if we're going to provide those really engaging and wonderful lessons that really catch the kids and make their learning purposeful. So I'm glad you all wanted to be a part of this today.
Thank you. I one more thing to add. I was thinking about where technology has made something better, working with Google Documents particularly. When we can do something collaboratively, I think that's really, and what I mean is collaborating to create one single piece of writing. So I've done a couple things with, like, we'll take a nonfiction article. We work at Lord of the Flies in one class, and I took a nonfiction article about the forest fires in, I think, Colorado at the time, and we broke it down, and each group had like a little paragraph they had to sort of rewrite about Lord of the Flies, and using that as a mentor text, it was the coolest thing to see how they got that instant audience, but it was a small piece, so it was doable within that one period. Anyway, I felt like technology, that was one case where, like you were just saying, it made it, wow, that was so much better than it would have been passing a paper around or something, or writing it individually in our notebooks.
Agreed. That's good to hear. That's exactly how I've set up a number of things with my freshmen, with my juniors. where we have not everybody has a device to use, so within smaller groups we're able to find one student with a device, or we're able to provide some of them, and we're able to work through some drafts where students don't always have to be writing a longer essay, and they can just contribute to portions of that, and that's really that collaborative piece that gets much more convenient with technology.
Well, it is 11 o'clock, folks, and we need to end the session. I'm very excited to have met all of you and had this discussion. And please, if anything, continue this discussion on Twitter or through the Google Plus community. And it was nice meeting you. Thanks.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Bye.